Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here with She Cruises. Hope that you're doing great today and perhaps out in the world cruising somewhere. I just got back from a cruise on the Celestyal Olympia Greek cruise, and I wanted to give you 10 things that I learned. It was a very interesting cruise for me. I had been to Greece about 40 years ago, and so when I went back, I went to many of the places that I'd been before, and of course, with a different lens, a different perspective of being that much older, but it was more than that. And I think there were some very significant things that I learned about myself and about the experience of cruising that I want to share with you. Now, She Cruises is really for women who love to cruise of any age, but most of our community are women who are over 50 years old and who are, wanting to travel either by themselves, solo, or with a roommate, with a friend, or with a group. And I've got some thoughts on that I want to share with you. Now, I traveled alone. I went literally on my own. I flew to Athens. I stayed at an Airbnb in Piraeus for 2 nights. By the way, it was a great Airbnb and I really enjoyed the time there. I like being in Piraeus. I went to Athens for 1 day, did a little hop-on bus tour, but mostly I stayed in Piraeus and then got on the ship in Piraeus, and it was super easy to board. That was one thing that I thought, going with a Greek cruise line, which is Celestyal, that I would have an easier time just navigating the experience. And I was right. That was something that I did learn. But there were other things that happened that were so interesting. And I just want to share them with you. Now, my hair also did some weird things. Oh, I got this necklace too. I bought this necklace in Santorini, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I didn't buy a lot of stuff. It was a budget cruise line, and it was meant to be affordable for me. And there are many women out there who are in that position. They don't want to spend a lot on a cruise, but they want to cruise. So then you have to make a decision. You either go with a cruise line which is low price and low frills, and then just take advantage of the scenery, or you have to just not go, or save up until you can go on a line that's more expensive. But here's what I learned. Well, number one, Greece is beautiful. The Greek islands are beautiful. It's, for me, one of those trips. If you can get to Europe and get to Athens or Venice and do that trip, the geography is just stunning. Now, yes, there's lots of people. It's very crowded, but that was number one. Just Greece was beautiful. Second thing I learned, the sunsets are the same 40 years later. The places have changed so much, even Athens and Piraeus, of course, but the islands have become developed, some of them to a point where you really can hardly move around on the island. They become so popular. So that's another thing, to put that lens on when you're traveling in Greece, is to know that you are going to be in crowds. I mean, serious crowds from April until the end of October. That's how long their season is now. It's very difficult. But having said that, if you can just deal with that, move away from the crowd. And I've got some tips for how to get away from the crowds. Just do it and go, and you won't be disappointed. But that's another thing, is that whether you're on a crowded island or a crowded ship or a budget line or whatever, the sunsets are still the same. It's still beautiful. I took an inside cabin. This is the third thing I learned, and that is that inside cabins are okay. They're fine. I decorated my cabin. I brought some blue tack, which is not, dangerous for the wall. And I put up postcards, and I put up my little banner. I have some, just something I always take with me on a cruise. And I just decorated it and had fun. I wasn't able to buy any flowers along the way, which I normally do. But the places we went just didn't have fresh flowers to bring back to the ship. But anyway, an inside cabin is totally fine. If it enables you to go and get on the cruise because you can't afford a balcony, and if you're solo, you're going to pay a double, single supplement, I would say go for an inside cabin. It's cool. The other thing is, don't have to buy lots of souvenirs. Postcards are fine. I have a ritual now that I buy a postcard every time I stop at a port or anywhere when I travel, and I have a little box of postcards, and one postcard, folks, I usually buy like 3 or 4 or 5. Now it's one postcard every stop. and they're fine. You don't need, this was the only thing other than a little donkey teddy bear for my grandson, two of them actually, for my two grandsons, that I bought. And they were on Rhodes, and they were very cute. Again, €5. But postcards are fine. The fifth thing I learned is that women travel in tribes. I was amazed at this. I was, I think, probably the only, no, I can't say that. How can I say that in a ship of 1,600? I was one of the few women over 60 traveling alone, meaning completely alone, sitting alone on the bus, sitting on a table alone. There were lots of single women there, and there were lots of solo travelers, but they were in groups. And there were some big groups. I mean, Gate 1 was one. There was Cosmos, Horizon, Kuoni. There were lots of groups that had 30, 40, 50 people in their groups. And they had a leader who took everyone around. So you were always being guided. And I looked at them sometimes and I thought, that's kind of an interesting way. Maybe I should have done that, because I didn't have trouble meeting people. I'm not that type of person. I chat with people easily. But I did feel like they had already established their community, their tribe, and that a couple of them were very sweet and said, come out, eat with us. And I felt included. But that was one observation that I made. If you're thinking about cruising and you're solo, check out some groups. Now, this is why, plug here for She Cruises, this is why She Cruises exists. And I didn't really realize that until I took this trip by myself, that we're offering you a group of people to travel with on your cruise, and you'll get to know them in advance on Facebook, and we have our private groups. And by the time you meet on the ship, you know each other. And that has got some value. So She Cruises, for example, is cruising to Norway in May 2020. We're actually almost full. I think we have 3 or 4 seats left, but we already know each other. We've been on Facebook for another 4 months now, and it's been great. So that's why I think groups like She Cruises and others are good, because they bring like-minded women together. And then when you get to the ship, you've got a family already. Really important. I think that's the number one highlight that I would make from this trip. Yes, I'm not as strong as I was in my 60s. I'm now 70, and like everybody, it's like, you feel young inside, and you do. I mean, and I am in good health, and I'm able to climb up and down hills and steps, and I'm not weak, but I definitely found it was different. And by the way, I was like nervous about holding onto the handrails, because one thing about Celestyal, it was one of the downsides for me. They didn't clean their handrails very often. I was actually cleaning them myself with my tissues, like as I went down, because they didn't wash the handrails, which for me was like number one health problem. I actually left them that feedback. But anyway, I was holding the handrails more. And when we got to places like Rhodes, the pebbles, the sidewalks were pebbles, and not like cobblestone, but they were actually round, slippery pebbles. Thank goodness I had good shoes, but it was super slippery, and I was just conscious of it. I was just noticing how, as you travel and get a little older, you've got to wear good shoes, seriously good shoes. You've got to watch out for danger things like getting sick. Making sure you have your card on a lanyard around your neck. Make sure you only take a little bit of money every day when you go out, one credit card. I took out €50 in my wallet every day. I always came back with extra money, but I didn't take any more. I didn't even take a credit card, because I knew I was with a tour most of the time, and we would be okay. But no, I just felt you've got to do certain things as you get older. Miss my family more. Partly because I've got 2 very young grandchildren now, I did miss them more. And I've thought of them more. And I was having these, and that's just between you and I and whoever else is, thousands of people watching this. I just felt like I shouldn't be there. I felt guilty that I should be home helping, that I didn't deserve to be cruising. And that's such a big deal, isn't it, when you get older? But maybe you can share your experiences there. I learned to embrace flying, because I had to fly to Athens. There's absolutely no way I can get from Switzerland to Athens in like less than 2 days. So I had to fly. Don't like flying, but I did, and it was okay. And I've learned to embrace it. It's going to be okay. And it's okay to be alone. That's the 9th thing I learned. I mentioned earlier about being part of a group, but I was okay. as a single solo traveler, no problems. People were helpful and welcoming, and it's sometimes okay to travel by yourself. And then I learned that choosing cruising in groups is a good thing. I think I maybe mentioned that, but it's why 60 and Me, my group community exists, and then She Cruises as part of that is for cruising women. And I really think that that's adding an element of value that I didn't grasp before. So I've done a video of the cruise. I did like, I think it was almost 10 minutes long of just the whole experience. Here we are in Rhodes, here we are in Mykonos, here we are in Santorini, where I got my necklace. It was 12 euros. Isn't that beautiful? It's actually some ceramic, but it's like I have another necklace like this that I love this. It was the same type. And what else? So, like those places I mentioned, Patmos, Kusadasi in Turkey was amazing. So you can check out that video. I'll leave a link to it in the article underneath the video. And also I did a tour of the ship. This wasn't a sponsored cruise, by the way. I just went on my own. I paid my way and I just went. But I always like to take pictures and, give a little bit of attention to things that you might be interested in watching a follow-up video. I also did a little video of my day in Athens. So you can check those out all on YouTube. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, for being part of this journey. And I thought it was useful to share what I learned on my Celestyal Cruise, Celestyal Lines. It's C-E-L, or you'll see the spelling is Y-S-T-A-L. And the ship was the Olympia. They've only got two ships, the Olympia and the Crystal. And I was on the Olympia. Anyway, hope that you found this useful. I'd love to know, have you been on a Celestyal cruise or any Greek cruise? Just leave your comments in the section below and we'll have a conversation. But thank you again for your support and for being here. Bye-bye for now.